in a reverse gear. Oh.
And I just pushed record, and now we're on live. To Change Yourself, Change the World, episode X 20 something. Anyways, back here with the homies Corey and Ahmed, and we got tons of topics we're trying to go through. We'll see how many we go through. Where do you guys want to start? Come on, you guys had like hours of talking before this, and
Well, I don't know.
ask the question you wanted to
We're
ask.
having a gnarly talk about EMS. I don't know if we want to go into that subject or wait till later.
Yeah.
I'm doing a special project for myself. Maybe you guys might want to do it eventually. I'm on like 30 days of microdosing and seeing what that is going to do for my.
What is it doing? That sounds interesting, but every time I microdose, I want to macrodose. Instinctively, I'm just like, well, I can do a little more. And then after a little more, I can do a little more. And then after a little more, it's like I end up eating a gram or gram and a half.
Yeah, but I mean, you still, I mean, if anything, you're never going to get higher than you originally were. You're just prolonging. I mean, you're prolonging that whatever feel-good feeling or downloads that you're receiving from the medicine per se.
But at the level you're doing,
in a macro dose setting, so I'm trying something to see what it does for me.
yeah, like I was gonna say, at the level you're doing it, was you said 25 milligrams, and if you guys will know what we're talking about stuff. I don't know. We should say it.
Psilocybin mushrooms, like it's
All right.
No, yeah, it's legal now.
Yeah,
We're in Oregon.
Yeah, we're in Oregon for sure.
Yeah, Pacific Northwest, we got decriminalization everywhere, you know.
Yeah, with all the drugs legalized over there.
Yeah.
Okay, so at 25 milligrams, that's
Well, like the first day I did 0.13 milligrams, then I did 22 milligrams the following day, and now I'm doing 25 milligrams. So just kind of.
Are you doing 25 milligrams or 0.25 grams?
Sorry,
It's 25 milligrams is like
0.25 grams. That's what I meant.
Oh, okay. Because I was like, that's absolutely nothing.
Yeah, so it's like just think a tenth to 20, like what 2/10, whatever it is. It's very minimal.
Yeah. No. But yeah, no. 25 milligrams is insanely small. Like it's.
Oh, I know, because I'm thinking 50 milligrams is a
Wait,
heroic.
no, 0.25 milligrams is 0.025 grams.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I said. That's why I said, are you taking 0.25 grams or 25 milligrams?
A quarter of a gram.
Yeah, a quarter of a gram. Yeah, 0.25 grams. So 250 milligrams. No, the reason I said this because the microdosing that Jordan Peterson was talking about was 25 milligrams to 30 milligrams.
Of what though?
Of psilocybin mushroom.
You're not gonna feel shit on that.
You're not supposed to feel shit on that.
But I mean, like, you won't even feel an energetic feeling or anything like that. Like I
Not
took.
about that.
Huh?
It's supposed to be used as a replacement for an antidepressant. That's what these microdosings are for.
Yeah, so like the logic behind that is like, did you guys know that if you studies in alcohol show that even if you like drink a little bit of alcohol and just to get a little buzz, they found that if you do that every single day, oh, I'm just having a mi cerveza, you know, like your yellow beer that doesn't really have any alcohol content, you know, just, but they found that even that will gradually reduce the neural connections, and it'll slowly smooth out your brain, you know, making you dumber basically.
Well, it wears shit down, essentially.
So like along the same lines, if you take something just in order to get an effect that's conscious, then it's probably too much. So that's like the idea behind microdosing, that
but still, there's something in you. It's not like you're feeling it consciously, but like you can feel just the change, like a little burst of energy, a little something in essence.
But you're still feeling it. The microdosing would be, let's just say those thoughts that got you down don't get you as down anymore. Like that, I think that's the level of the microdose they're trying to get to. Because a lot of people that are microdosing aren't trying to get high. They're not trying to have any experience.
I'm not trying to get high either. I mean, if anything, for me personally, I notice a lot of negativity. I turn to the negative more than anything. I'm trying to figure out a way. Like I don't understand why every time I look at something, I don't think of the positive first.
Because biological animals, and that's pre-wired in our brain. It's a danger receptor. It's a danger feeling of like what's behind in that bush. It's also there's this, it's a natural skepticism. I don't think being always positive and everything's always happy and like there's seeing the silver lining is great, but always trying to see the silver lining first, I just seems like I don't know. There's nothing wrong with being skeptical. Like you don't have to follow on to your negative thoughts. It's not bad to have those negative thoughts though.
No, right. They serve a purpose. I'm not saying that per se.
Yeah. Video game addiction.
Then it's also to the point where like I
Yeah.
feel like now we label everything and there's so many dogmas everywhere. It like helps you kind of get back to source and filter through the bullshit ultimately for me.
Exactly. So
moment.
Yeah, no, and I get exactly where you're coming from because I do the same thing with weed. I mean, I wish I could do it with mushrooms if I had that option at the moment. That would be actually really great because I would love to do 250 milligrams of mushrooms every day because I would see the changes, and I have done this. And the physical high or the psychedelic high that I got off that kind of dosage was extremely minimal compared to the real like doses. And you just do feel chippier. Like honestly, you're just like, this is great air.
Yeah, and I think it's necessary, especially with like our most recent, your and my most recent conversation, and how like I felt like my weed intake was to the point where I'm looking for the highest THC, the most potent shit out there, and it's like kind of putting in the same headspace of when I was doing, whether it's fucking heroin or just drugs that I don't necessarily need to feel that way about weed. It doesn't have to get to that extreme, but that's just like kind of a defense mechanism. Me like, hey, whoa, maybe it's time to chill out for a second, and then realizing it's kind of trickling over and leading to some thoughts that I didn't need to think in the moment per se, or maybe I was just carrying over them. I'm putting myself in that conscious state too often.
Yeah, well, getting in that weeds, getting high, it does drive you into the paranoia, and paranoia it just means your thoughts are accelerated to the max. And that can be good or be bad and be like, oh my gosh, life is beautiful. And you see the connection, life, or life, oh, what the hell is this? And you see the connections for all the bullshit. So
depends on, I guess, the collective too. Cause I mean, again, like there's the heavy energy of everything going on, like the political bullshit,
it's true. And how much you let in.
Yeah.
I mean, you can just clearly ignore it and be like, man, all this is bullshit.
No, I didn't. That was another thing. And it was like in that podcast talking about how much our screens, whether we believe it or not, like they impact us, And I think that like even the 3 days that I was in Utah, less screen time actually benefited me quite a bit because I came back like feeling recharged. I got, didn't have to think about work and realizing the karma's all inner loop because I'm working. Like this is not only my home station, my workstation, it's like every station now. So it's like, you get caught in that. So even when you don't need to think about work, you're stuck up thinking about the work that you're doing, even though it's not like really work. I play and I train people, you know what I mean, to the same extent, and create experiences. But still, like any good thing can become, if you're too comfortable or whatever, you get uncomfortable somewhere. You get uncomfortable even in the comfort.
This is why I think, feng shui makes sense, as well as compartmentalizing. Is that what you say?
Yeah.
Putting things in compartments, dividing things. Your workstation from your PlayStation, from your eating station, from all these things. Like having my room be almost everything is fucking annoying because my room is almost everything, and at the same time, I could be working or I could be taking a nap. Like it's just right.
Environments play a huge role in regards to growth if you're like on disciplined enough per se to like kind of give you that too.
So the times I've been the most disciplined is when I compartmentalize everything. So in the morning, I was waking up at like 6 in the morning and I was meditating and I was doing insanity in the next room because I had a spare bedroom and in Thailand. And I was just like, all right, I'm gonna just work. This is gonna be my workout room. And I worked out 6 times a week in that room, like consistently. And like when my work and my play and everything was separated, it was so much easier to have discipline. Like it truly is. Like me doing work here takes me way too much energy. Like I fidget around too much. I have ADHD naturally. I'm self-diagnosing myself, but I lose attention very quickly, as you can tell right now. Like I lost my train of thought right now. This shit happens constantly. Sometimes
Yeah,
sleep
that's
doesn't help.
the show that you were recommending, Living 4D. That there was one subject there that when you lose your train of thought, apparently you're using your right
Right
brain.
brain.
You listen to it, right? So you go from left to right. It's like quality versus quantity. It's very interesting.
Yeah, it's very true. Like, I'll have like conversations with a client sometimes, and normally I'm like pretty robotic and left-brained and strict and kind of impersonable and kind of non-amicable. But when I start being more like in the flow, I shift over to the right brain,
Yeah.
and I just like I think I do a better job, and they like me a lot more. And but I end up losing kind of like my train of thought. So that's why it's important to have an agenda.
Right.
That way you can just play around in your right brain.
To fall back on. Yeah. Well, it's because it's a reminder. Sometimes you get in your left brain, like, okay, how does the world want me to act? What am I supposed to act in this moment? Instead of like, oh, right brain, I'm just who I am. You know what I mean? Like, I'm flow. I don't have to pretend like anything or whatever it is. Not like you have to pretend per se, but like customer service or this. You know what I mean? Like, you have this like set of principle or set of things that you have to follow, categorical things.
True. And yeah, that makes sense.
Whatever you've conditioned yourself or whatever previous education systems, workplaces, whatever, anything that we've not like unlearned on our own, which is like the most difficult thing I feel like is you don't know what you need to unlearn until you like come to that circumstance.
Actually, I think you should unlearn everything.
That's the point. Also, we reinvent ourselves every day, right? So like some people have their huge rituals that they love, that they work so well, they're reinventing that part, but then in between they reinvent elsewhere too. It's very interesting. Wow.
Yeah, I don't know if we should unlearn everything. There's probably like a lot of things we have to unlearn. But
History, man. I mean, all right. I think we need to unlearn like a lot of the preconceived notions we have in the past, right?
and we don't want to unlearn skills. I think like we want to
Well,
like
I mean, maybe
dig into them.
unnecessary ones that don't serve you.
Yeah, ones that you don't need anymore. You can just put you can save it on the hard drive. You don't have to keep it up front. You know?
Oh yeah, like definitely everything is worth examining.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it's worth fully unlearning. Like,
Well,
but it needs to be like, it needs a lot of things need to be tweaked. Like even the good things,
Yeah.
we can like fix them. Like how you there's this book called Unlearning Meditation, and it talks about how like I definitely as a person who's been meditating the wrong way for a long time, I definitely benefited from that book because it just goes into some of the things on how to like some of the basics in meditation. And a lot of people like they meditating for many years, but they haven't been meditating the right way. And there's something called in Zen Buddhism dead tree emptiness, where you have this peacefulness in your meditation, but it's not really alive peacefulness. It's like this stagnant peacefulness, not like um, it's not a responding and immediately immersed, present-minded peacefulness. It's kind of like a stagnant, stuck kind of peacefulness.
wait, so is that what we're going for? Or what do you mean? What was the point of the stagnant peacefulness again?
We're not going for. It's called like in Zen Buddhism it's called empty tree or dead tree Zen, like dead tree calmness, basically like it's basically like a dead tree. And the analogy, it's a really good visual analogy because it's basically like a dead tree. If you instead of your calmness being like um, a rotting tree, your calmness should be like a flourishing, beautiful tree that gradually grew from
Oh,
verdant roots, and it's really alive. It's not just like some sort of
uh,
calmness that you just force yourself into. It's not like a stagnant, sleepy calmness.
I think I got it. You don't want the peace of death. You want the peace of thriving life.
Yeah.
Right. Actually, I'm
The
gonna write that
thriving
one down.
life, that's kind of like a so what's a good analogy? Like yeah, like basically like yeah, a thriving tree, but because thriving kind of goes towards I think yeah, thrive because the way when I think of thriving, I'm thinking of like all this scatteredness, but thriving is kind of like interconnected and it's accepting all those interconnections and it's working together without resisting.
Yeah, exactly. It's the non-resisting part the just flowing, the ever flow. It's not that nothing's there, even though the abyss is a very extreme fucking feeling to have. If you've ever felt the abyss, I feel you. I feel your pain. I feel your sorrow. I feel your despair. It's insane. And it's kind of weird because abyss kind of turned into gratefulness because I'm like, fuck. There's so much nothing there. I'm so happy there's so much, a lot of whatever the fuck this is here.
Right. And that's your big DMT trip?
That was not actually, that was my, after the DMT, it was one of the shroom trips I was on when I was barely started doing like the Shambhavi, and it was around that time, like last year. It was after DMT though.
People talk
DMT,
about the same thing as like near-death experiences, though, like kind of
Mhm.
remind you that you are everything.
yeah, my dad had, well, he had cancer, and during that surgery where they removed the cancer, he went through radiation and chemotherapy and all this other crap. But during that surgery, like before or after like that surgery, he just, there was a weight that was lifted off of him because he used to be much more stress reactive. My whole family is a bunch of high wired people that get stressed for very no reason at all, or very minor reasons. But after that, he calmed down like a lot. Like just his stress levels, like he himself is being more, noticing himself more. He's like, he's paying more attention to his diet. He's paying more attention to, well, a lot of shit. So yeah, that near death experience kind of
That was recent?
shook him the right way. That was, no, like 10 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah. But my uncle went the opposite way, and that was last year. So instead
what?
of my uncle, instead of trying to actively change his diet and trying to actively exercise and moving here and doing this, and he went the chemotherapy way, and he kind of just faded away. And the difference between, I don't know how this conversation started, but the difference between my dad and my uncle is my dad had hope, and he was positive, and he was optimistic, and my uncle was not. You can tell by his actions. Huh?
That's like it's basically the story plot line of man's search for meaning, like going in concentration camps. The moment you give up your will and your hope for something to be better, you're done. You're dead. It's gone.
Here's the thing, though. It wasn't the words he said or didn't say, because well, it kind of was, because every time he would ask him, it was like, well, let's hope, or we can only do this, and it was never
Yeah.
I'm going to get better. It was never I'm going to do better. I'm going to heal myself, or I'm going to do any of these things. There was never any positive affirmations. It was more like a hopeful kind of maybe, perhaps, 50-50, not really. It was kind of these thoughts that or these words that he was saying, and he was speaking and acting in this kind of way. He was going to the restaurants and eating the food he liked to eat, even though the same food was the one that probably caused him to have, was it pancreatic cancer or colon cancer? It was one of these colon stomach cancers, like one of the typical cancers that men get. He had it, and I believe 95% is, huh?
A lot of men get prostate cancers too, though.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I had to do something with his diet. I'm not sure exactly what cancer it was, but it had to do with the digestive tract. And yeah, before he passed away, he had just spread. Like they couldn't do anything. And I told him to try weed. I told him to do mushrooms. I asked him if he wanted any of these other healing able medicines, and they were just skeptical. He was just scared. He never wanted to take them. Like I should have just sat there and taken one with him, and like I realized I could have done more. Probably should have done more. But yeah, I just couldn't change. I couldn't get him to see a different way. He kind of already made up his mind, and that again, when let me come back to the point of unlearning everything. When I said unlearning everything, it isn't just because I want you to become a fucking savage or just a beast. No, like unlearn everything and then relearn everything that in a way that fits you and the situation better. Like, be prudent in your knowledge. Like, even if you know the answer, it might be 1% different in this situation. You don't know until you kind of go through all of it. So that's what I meant by unlearning everything. And yeah, I think unlearning is a great thing. I think we don't do it enough. How do we unlearn?
I don't know. Yeah, like how does one really like how are you able to test that or track that or you know?
I have no idea. Um,
So interesting.
how do we unlearn things? I mean, the first step of unlearning is questioning.
Right.
It literally is. Because if you're not questioning anything, then
Yeah, because do you think that there's really any way to technically unlearn? I mean, if you're just learning what you choose to want to learn, isn't that technically unlearning anything that no longer serves you? Like, because it's the same scenario we call something brainwashing, but no washing is actually happening. It's just programming, and that's just constant, stimulus in one way or form, in the form of ads or television or cell phone or whatever it is, school.
well, you don't have to unlearn it. You just don't have to. I don't know.
Maybe you deem it, your perspective of it says that it no longer serves you. You like,
You use it differently then. In that case, you just use it differently. Just put it in a different data category now. It's like useful information. Shit. I used to think I knew. Like,
but is it like, do you think is it one of those things, maybe you have to actually like say it out loud, or your brain has to hear it, otherwise you're thinking the thoughts, but it's not going to do it itself. Like, this is something you think you have to act, like, I mean, it's something, a way to try. It's not going to hurt either way, but it's like,
depends. It depends on you, honestly. It's like a mantra. Do you need this mantra to be internal or external? And if
well,
people don't
isn't
know
there
what
a reason why certain things like certain religions will say prayer beads this many times, the same thing over and over and over and over, same name over and over and over and over and over. There's a reason for this type of shit.
Right.
Somebody decided that was necessary.
Yeah, like we chant Namo Amitabha, and that's the name that. Well, Ahmed explained that. What's Namo Amitabha?
Namo is like obeisance, like praise, and then Amitabha is the Buddhist deity of like, he's a Buddha of light, and so it means like, so if you want to use it broadly, you can say that uh, praise to light, but if all the way, it can have meanings all the way to praise to this Amitabha Buddha. And if you say it, I mean, the sutra, if you read it, this Buddha, he vowed that if you say this 7 times for real, then you will have the seeds in your consciousness to be reborn in the Western paradise, which is this like insanely perfect place to gain enlightenment. Like, this place has jewel encrusted like heavens. It's like it's basically like it's a Buddha realm that Amitabha Buddha designed just so that people can be born there and get enlightened. You got to say like 7 times, like legitly. No, I think that's
It has to be a call from the soul. Basically, you can't. They're not just words. And yeah, the reason we chant these words is it is to, well, one, to praise the light Buddha, the Buddha of light. Two, it's to get into that realm. So imagine that these realms are all around us, and saying the word Namo Amitabha, then your body's able to unlock that realm. So every time you say it real is one key to unlock that's there for that realm. And once you do say it 7 times, and you do get what your consciousness has the seed to be able to be whatever it is to that. So the point is, you call this out in order for these realms to appear before you. They don't really come to you because they're there. but
Yeah,
you're able to see them.
DMT is always there. You just don't. Yeah.
Exactly. It's always there. You just weren't paying attention the right way.
Right.
And saying these words focus on make you pay attention the right way, or that focused way, whatever the chant or mantra might be. Whoa, unlearning from beginning. Oh, so it's a book you were talking about, the Unlearning Buddhist book. And
Yeah.
I can see why this would be useful for you, because you probably have a lot of practices and a lot of preconceived notions of what you're supposed to do and what you're supposed to see and how you're supposed to do all these things. And I can see how I can stifle or at least make you a little bit delusional, because it makes me.
Yeah, but I mean, but some of those things are correct. Some of those instructions are core instructions that are important as ABCs, and then some of the other things are like accents, like an Indian accent. You know, it's stuff that I've kind of collected and mislearned, and there's also like a lot of pride and ego. Like, hey, I know everything. I know like everything about Buddhism more than a person that's a scholar, and I have kind of an ego wrapped up around it. So even though that ego is wrapped up around what? You basically useless knowledge, because not unactualized knowledge, which is how useful, completely useless. But yeah, that I think there's a lot of things where I think I'm doing it right, but I'm not actually doing it. Or I'm kind of like, over the years, I might have kind of lost my my beginner's mind. There's a really good book called Beginner's Mind by Shumio Suzuki.
Interesting. That does seem interesting.
Yeah, it's really, really good book. It's really short, and it just like really gets to the point of you should have like pretty much everything. Like when you started it for the first time, remember how like awesome you were at it, how quickly you learned it, especially those things that you're really good at now. Like, yeah, so kind of embodying that energy and that empty cup ferocity to everything.
So coming into everything as if you were new, not necessarily saying you don't know any of these things, but just not having any bias, prejudice, or.
So it's like a white belt mentality. You trying to learn?
Yeah. And too many expectations and
it's almost like it's the same extent. I heard a good analogy. Shout out my friend John Carlo. He said something about a sponge. When a sponge, you absorb things, right? But you release what's unnecessary and you keep what is. If you can think of your mind like that, to the same extent, you got to clear out that dirtiness to get new stuff.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, you do. You can't. Yeah, that's exactly it. You got to clear out the dirtiness in order to put new stuff in. You got to clear out the dirt,
right? But be able to clean out what's unnecessary, or clean out the stuff that doesn't serve you, or that's.
You can't just polish it on top, and this is why I think false positivity is a danger. Mostly because people think you're happy when you're extremely sad.
Yeah, look at everybody with mental health issues. This is true.
And most people do have some kind of mental health issue. Every one of us could be.
I myself definitely have some. I know that.
I mean, it depends on what day of the month and where the moon is sometimes. Goddamn, like sometimes we all fucking act like what do we call them? Not the wolf beast. What are the people that full moon people? Full moon wolves? Werewolves.
Yeah.
I forgot the name. Yeah, well that shit's real. And well, this past full moon, I became more meditative, and I enjoy meditating and doing my practice at night way more than I enjoy it in the morning. Mostly because, well, I think it's a moon helping me feel that energy, but at the same time, it's a darkness. When you're in the dark, it's much easier to get into meditative states than because I'm closing my eyes, and if I'm focusing up here and my pineal gland, eventually my eyes kind of flicker. When they're meditating, there's a flickering, and with the flickering, there's little glimpses of light that might be disturbing. But at night, it's like we're in a fucking band. You're like, there's darkness if I open my eyes, and there's darkness if I close them. So it doesn't mess up my concentration. at the same time, I do feel more focused when it comes to spiritually at night than I do in the day. So, yeah, I guess we just depend. Everybody has a mental health issue. We just have different ways of coping with it.
Oh, it's funny because you say at night, like I'd be the opposite. I would say like it's at night for me, but in the early hours of the morning, like 4 or 5 a.m., well, it's still dark out, but it's not nighttime. It's daytime. You know, like I'm starting my day instead of ending my day.
And that would work well if I was okay with chanting at 4 in the morning.
Fair. Well, and if you also have a reason to be up at that hour as well, I also have clients like at 5:30.
Yeah. Yeah. I think right now I know I don't need to be loud when I chant, but I'm still testing my voice. And so I moderate the frequency to my to I moderate the volume because I want to feel the resonance within me. And I know it has nothing to do with volume, but it helps when you're learning. It helps to see, okay, this vibrates when I go this way, and this vibrates when I do this. And if I do this one and I hold my breath and I do this, then it goes this way. And I'm like, oh, okay. And volume just helps me notice it much more clear, much more easier.
Actually,
So right
I forgot to mention this to you when we were talking about this in the past, but there's good teachings by Master Nan, who's like my original teacher. He talks about this stuff a lot and about this how to properly do mantra. There's like so many points, but about the vibration part, you don't even have to. Uh, Being loud doesn't necessarily vibrate more resonantly.
right.
You can do it like really low because you actually waste vibration by expelling it too loudly. So he
Right.
actually said that you're supposed to do it more quietly, all the way up to the point, and this leads to the other things that he was talking about, but all the way to the point where you're not even like moving your lips, because um, your tongue is basically like supposed to represent the the spiraling of the kundalini. So all you need to do is move your tongue, and the rest of your facial structure, the rest of everything else is just kind of like a container
Mm-hmm.
for that energy. So you're not supposed to move, you're not supposed to bustle around your body and other muscles. You're supposed to just reduce it down to like the very bare minimum, which is just basically like your tongue shape, because the sounds are produced by the tongue. So like that's why different mantras will actually move the tongue in a different way, and you're actually uh, opening up different parts of your body and chi channels and stuff. That goes into all these other interesting subjects. But
Well, most of what I chant is Om, and I don't move my tongue when I say Om. I
well, you're
mean,
going
right,
like so you're going like your tongue is at a lower position, and then
that's
it
insane.
goes to a higher
Well,
position.
my mouth, uh, that's the only thing that changes. Is the jaw. Me closing my mouth is the only thing that's changing. Me moving my tongue, that's just because my mouth is closing. I guess that's what it means, but I don't solely control my tongue. I
Yes.
do it when I chant other things, just to see where the energy goes and how it comes out, because I test shit out. I'm curious. I'm just naturally curious and see, okay, if I do this, what happens? Okay. And if I do this, what happens? Okay. It's, that's it. But for the most part, when it comes to the vibration, it's I'm trying not to move the tongue. I got all. I'm trying to just to make it big. And it takes me a while to not even to get out of the instinct of wanting to move my tongue. So I have to do it again and again and again. It's a repetition thing. And yeah, it becomes a trance, and then eventually I don't. It's not as loud. It doesn't have to be as loud for me to feel the resonance, and I get it. And sometimes I feel that I'm going loud, and I'm like, oh, this is distracting. It's not going right. It's not the flow. It's like
Yeah.
a bell curve, or not a bell curve, like a I don't know, it's like a curve. And if you're not following that slope at the right angle, it feels off. And that, yeah, if you go too high, it feels off. If you go too low and you're not putting enough energy, it feels off. If you go too long, it feels off. If you go too short, it feels off. You're just like, God dang.
Yeah, and then sometimes you have this energy inside you. Like when I do my first I just do it really loud,
Yeah,
and then my next few ones I get tuned into it.
right. So I've actually noticed that many times when I start chanting, my voice starts cracking. It's like, and it's like removing all the sand and shaking off all the dust before I actually start chanting.
Hmm.
And I think that's where a lot of people feel, I don't know, shy might be the word, shy to chant, or don't want to do it too much because they're like, oh my gosh, it sounds weird. And to me, it's just like warming up. It's like a warm up, and your voice goes. And if you have tons of mucus because of the foods you eat and the environment you're in and exercise and so on and so forth, yeah, that's going to affect your chanting. And one big, um, oh, mosquito, gotta kill it. One big thing, one big thing is I'm trying to eat less mucusy foods solely because of my chanting and because of my breathing. Because I've noticed that when I don't eat mucusy foods and I'm taking these turmeric pills now, which are great. These turmeric with black pepper extract, like 95% curcuminoids. It helps with the clearing of the mucus up here. So I feel there's no congestion. And because there's no congestion, when I'm breathing at night, this cold air that we're starting to get, my head doesn't get cold. And it doesn't start cracking uh, the mucus there, which doesn't let bacteria in. So the reason we get sick in the cold is because our mucus and everything that usually protects us gets cold and gets a little bit solidified, and there's cracks that are able to get through, and bacteria is able to get through our mucus, our natural protective mucus layer. Now I feels great. I don't know this tangent where I was coming from, but beginner's mind, yes. Turmeric, yes. Chanting, do it. Even if you sound like shit, do it.
Yeah, the reason that was an interesting story. So Master Hui Chi Nan, he's going to talk about that tongue thing. One of the other reasons he says to do that. Well, he was he was a military general, uh, and he actually advised to do that because they would capture you in and put you in concentration camps. And if you pretended that you're religious, then they would kill you. So yeah, you can't in China. This is you can't be religious. You get killed. So like, and we're going into that same kind of environment like now. I mean, there's a lot of scary things. So who knows? You might be stuck in a jail cell somewhere, and all you have to do at that point is get a bowl of soup, and cultivate and do your secret practices. And and that secret practice might just be trying to waken up your kundalini so you can um, move that in conjunction with your meditative practice, and then have it reach uh, your other chakras, and thus be able to achieve samadhi states, and then thus be able to achieve enlightenment, and then thus be able to kind of make it out of this body that we're trapped in.
I I think you just gave I think Corey wants to say that, but I think you just gave the most optimistic example of achieving enlightenment during FEMA camps.
It happens, the Buddhism has plenty of stories like that where the king is like, the king one time he like recognized this one guy that he's a little comfortable, but that he saw a lot of potential in him. And so he gave him like a death sentence. He's like, if you don't get enlightened in a week, um, you're gonna have a death sentence. We're gonna kill you. So they put him in jail for a week, and then he comes out enlightened.
What?
Yeah. And I
Dude,
think a lot of people like that. Like I know for sure I'm like that. If I had a death sentence on my head, I'd achieve samadhi right away.
I don't know about that. We all have a death sentence. We just
Yeah,
can't.
Yeah,
like
but
everyone's gonna die eventually, right? We just don't know that exact day. Everyone has
Can't.
come to this planet with a death sentence.
yeah, but there's a pretty high percentage chance I'm not gonna die in a week, a year, 2 years. Their new lore is gonna it's
Even if
closing
we
in on
start
us,
tomorrow, what do you mean? We're done. Done. Game over.
Potential, but lower percentage. But I get your point. I
I
get
got a
your
few
idea
years.
too. I don't know, dude. I might just rebel against the king and to become unenlightened and be like, fuck this guy. Telling me
Well,
what to do.
those are the days when they would really honor authority, and there was There's also days of serfdom too. But
A legit patriarchy.
yeah, I mean, there's a good thing and a bad, and there's a good side and a bad side to patriarchy, like a benevolent kings. You know, if people follow that benevolent king, then it's like a shortcut to a lot of good. But
Right. But unfortunately, unbenevolent kings and malicious kings are usually more remembered and followed for the most part. Fuck. Well, I don't know. Maybe just because they were bad, that we maybe everything in the world has been 99% good. It's just that 1% bad that's really fucked. Obviously, statistics are not. I'm just been throwing out random numbers, but still. Yeah.
I think we got kind of derailed. Like a few
Yeah.
topics ago, we were talking about magnetic fields or something.
Yeah,
We were talking about something about how
Oh, everything relates to magnetic fields, bro. Beginner's mind is a magnetic field. Unlearning is a magnetic field. Mindsets are only magnetic fields. No, I don't know. Mindsets bring about magnetic fields.
Mm.
Living 4D magnetic field.
You guys ever find yourself having conversations with people like, I don't know, something came to mind, like you guys were talking about chakras, right? Like, so whenever you have conversations in a spiritual sense with people, have you ever had come to a setting where they feel like they have a chakra that's imbalanced or whatnot? Like, I'm just curious if you guys ever run into that.
Yeah, me.
But like, okay, so what, yeah, but like, I mean, conversing with other people, aside from you, you've never come across anybody?
Of other people saying that, well, people that are usually into right key talk about that kind of stuff. I haven't talked to too many of them recently. I haven't talked to many people recently.
Which do you feel like, where do you feel like your imbalances are? Or in the past, where do you feel like you were imbalanced and had to find balance again? Either or, maybe
my throat chakra, the fifth chakra, as well as what's the second one called? The sexual drive one.
it's Svandhistana.
Well, what's the English name for it?
The sacral chakra.
Yeah, on top of the root chakra, because I'm not scared of death or of fear. I don't have those survival instincts. So sex drive, right?
Sacral sex drive?
Yeah, it's like your connect, I think like connectedness, to that intimacy.
Right. So yeah, that. So those two chakras are the ones that I have the most trouble. And I guess the pineal gland one, mostly because of mindsets and environmental factors, fluoride and GMOs and such, and that aluminums and all that crap.
Yeah, for me, I got problems with every single chakra. I think I have like maybe 5% of them opened.
Shit, bro.
Of every single one. It would be a better question, like, which one is the least bad?
Which one is your best chakra?
Because I tend to have conversations quite often, like somehow, man, but what I hear most from people is their root, but then I must be coming across people that are worried about death or survival.
Yeah, I mean, people who stress out and have anxiety, like massive levels of anxiety, which is most people in this California, I guess.
I always took with red being a primal color and red being the root and being in like the looks like it's more along the lines of reproductive organ area. That made me think that was more.
Well, that's what I meant by the second, because I think it is the sacral chakra. I don't think it's the root chakra that deals with sex and reproduction. But if it is, one of those lower ones, that's kind of where I'm at as well. And is this constant need of knowing, logically knowing, and even spiritually knowing that kind of being alone and nurturing yourself and doing these things and as well alone is way more beneficial for me, because it's hard to do any kind of practice when there's someone else that you have to think about. None of us have kids. If we had kids, it'd be a lot harder to do all those shit that we do want to do and think about. So on one
I
aspect,
think there's like a
yeah,
yeah,
well,
like on that point, kids, like everything has a silver lining, and I always try to look at it. I freaking hate kids, and I don't want kids, but um, like if we had a kid, kids are amazing. Like you can like use them for like kind of like just seeing your own developmental structure, and it can build a lot of your chakras, like in terms of understanding your own heart and interconnectedness, and
that
um,
a
yeah.
million, a
Yeah,
million
well,
percent true.
you said kids. I hate kids, but
Yeah, but if I had one, I would change my perspective on that,
Hey,
This
I,
is this is to be recorded, but hopefully it's not used
you're
against
talking
me
to
here.
two dudes that works with kids for a living too, like for a cool minute as well.
hey,
So
bro, I don't like most kids. I'm gonna be
I
real.
didn't say I want to have a kid,
I want
but
to
I
have a
wouldn't
ton of
mind
kids.
that, like,
my big reason why I worked with kids was to set them straight and really pick their brains and kind of see where they were headed. And fuck, man.
I kind of just landed at the job and I kind of liked it.
yeah, there's some obstructive things with kids, but definitely I think nature designed us like to like there's a lot of things with even with sex that's conducive to spiritual evolution. There's a lot of things with our progeny that are conducive to spiritual evolution and all sorts of evolution.
Well, that's I think a big thing in this culture, in this society at least, is we don't understand what nature is. We are not anywhere near natural beings per se. Like we tend to like think, oh, okay, it's a bit exaggeratory with what I'm speaking of, but we are trying to manipulate nature. Nature's super patient. We're rushing to everything. We want something to happen right in and there. Nature doesn't rush anything. Like the leaves fall, the plants die, come back. You know what I'm saying? Like it never forces anything. If anything, we're trying to force some shit.
Sure.
We're trying to
Wait.
fight what is natural in essence. And then we build something man-made, and then humans, if they aren't critical thinkers, think that that's natural.
I'm not really sure what you're referencing, but yeah, for the most part,
Like just
right?
in our setting right now, we now think that this is a natural setting, but it's not a natural setting.
No, I think this is unnatural setting, especially all these corners.
But if you were to talk to people in the populace, they think this is a natural setting.
Yes, because the people are the rabble. I don't know.
I think you've been listening to too much Living 4D, Corey.
That
Yeah, that show is pretty good. I mean, I'm gonna start listening to it a lot more. They talk about all this, holistic stuff that we talk about, but like on a like a next level and like with action points to it.
Yeah, but I mean, in backing too, man, this guy's not just like Paul Chek himself was in the military. He was talking about how he was like, he said he used to deal with Marines, and I didn't realize how crazy Marines are. Like the dude's seen a lot. He's been in the shit himself. Like even that, if you were listening to Dr. Kareem, like that dude said he was researching things in the 61. Paul's like, I was born in 61. Thank God I got you on here. He was laughing about it.
Yeah. Yeah, that thing with the magnetic field was just like that's stuck in my mind right now. I gotta finish it, but where he talks about how we can, that they used to have crystals in like certain places, and then farmers would compete to have their cattle graze the grass that was growing in those more crystal rich areas because the cattle would give more because the plants were richer in quality, so the cattle were eating that. So the cattle, when they ate the cattle was just like way more healthy, more nutritious and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, and then he brought that out to that analogy to like how we have more modern technologies now, where we can kind of directly create those magnetic resonances, with our technology now. We don't have to rely on crystals.
Yeah, they actually but they go super in depth as well to say everything that we search for externally, that we try to ingest, that we try to make, that we try to do, it's all within us. It's like funny that we do that.
It's all energy.
What do you mean?
Yeah.
What do you mean it's all with what action points did he give from there?
I would say like, where was he going with that?
Is there a way to override technology? Because that's like, that's the most important thing to learn. We're not gonna be able to escape this cement jungle. Um, we gotta learn. I mean, it's not right away, you know. But we should always learn to deal with the immediate present. How can we like,
Energy shield.
yeah, energy shields, energy projection, survivalism in the jungle, all sorts
That's
of.
coming in the next couple thousands of years. The reason I say this is because the Earth is going to be in a different place according to the universe, and we're going to be in a different density of what we call magic particles, quote unquote. We're going to be able to manipulate what we perceive as dark matter right now. It's not going to be so mysterious in a couple thousands of years when we're in a different place.
Yeah, you're talking about like 2 levels forward. I'm talking about just like the very.
Oh, okay.
Right now we have like, you know,
Like,
we have
right
we
now?
have electromagnetic underwear. We have
Yeah,
like,
we
you know,
do.
I mean, not electromagnetic shielded underwear. You know, all sorts of stuff like that. You
Yeah,
know,
that's real.
basic
And
tech.
the little chips that are supposed to create the shields and the rounds, like, I don't know how much I trust those things. I Well, I guess they are right because there's if they have testing, then I guess they're right. But have you guys seen those cards or chips or little bracelets you might carry that are meant to create some type of electromagnetic shield around you? You guys have not seen that? The fuck?
Bracelets, like, you know, shungite, or like there's cards.
There's a specific like
It's gonna be a man-made thing to protect man-made.
Oh, is that the one with
yeah,
like the flower of life and stuff on it?
maybe it was just carrying around organite level stuff or something like that. But there are things already out there to create little shields around us to protect us from this EMF thing. I I think the best solution is to get the fuck out and go create a better, a more prudent and efficient society somewhere else.
Yeah, but while you're creating that, you're still here, and while we're talking about it, might as well, like, you know, put your tinfoil hat on. It's not. Some people do that. They'll just. How did you see that? You know,
Alex
TimCast,
Jones,
Alex
yeah, I saw that.
Jones,
I saw
just
it
straight up
before.
busted his tinfoil. That
Tempo.
was hilarious. Yeah,
Yeah, but
aluminum. You know, like,
But
you
is
can
there,
give a
is
little
there a
bit
way
of
to
shielding.
test to see does the tinfoil really even work? Is that just like a old fucking bullshit?
I think it works. I think what
I think it
TimCast
does
was
work.
saying, that was bullshit. He was saying that, oh, I heard that um the waves will go in tinfoil and magnify it.
Yeah,
TimCast is super pessimistic sometimes
But
with
what?
the.
I mean, aluminum
yeah.
is supposed to be sterile.
He hasn't taken enough mushrooms. You can tell he
Yeah,
hasn't taken enough
yeah.
mushrooms.
That'll be interesting.
Hella pessimistic. That makes sense.
No, it's just he's unable to see different versions of reality. Like the other guy who's on there a lot of times,
So somewhat closed-minded, then is what you're saying? Just narrow-minded in his thoughts?
you can't be closed-minded to something you don't have access to, and you don't want access to. So you're closed-minded in a way you do want to try it, but yeah, they're just
Maybe he has
you don't have
blinders
all the
on.
facts.
If you remove the blinders, you'd be able to see
Yeah,
more.
he hasn't
But then even
removed his
that
blinders
that
yet.
you know, the silver lining there is, I mean, that's what makes him great at what he's doing, right? I
Yeah,
mean, he's so focused on the facts.
yeah.
I
You
mean,
know,
yes and no, though. Like, you could say that right now, but if we haven't seen the other side to see that if he might even be even better at what he's doing if he didn't.
Or he might fuck
right.
everything off and start skateboarding all day.
Yeah, of course, I mean, either way you can go hard with that, but it just like, I mean, yeah, maybe that ego death is like, oh, fuck, I really don't need to be doing what I'm doing anymore. This is killing me.
Well, it's politics.
You know, it's like, or
I
it's
got a
like,
skating
oh,
ring.
I need to go. The message they need to know even more. You know what I mean? The people need to fucking hear it.
You know that fool has his own skating ring, right?
Who?
He has his own half pipe.
Who?
Tim Pool, the guy we're talking about in
Oh,
TimCast.
yeah.
Yeah, I saw that video. He
On
has
his studio is like right next to a half pipe. You're like, what? This is pretty cool. Anyways, besides the matter. Yeah, that guy needs mushrooms. I think that's all he needs. He needs to get his homie, one of the ones with the long hair, to give him some mushrooms.
Hmm. Yeah, and right. And on that note, isn't it crazy though that in essence we are having a human experience, but luckily there is Mother Nature who decided to create these fungi or these plants to remind us of our true potential or what we really are. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I mean, now, because we've created so much fucking technology around us, you know, all these things that kind of maybe keep us in a box per se, instead of thinking outside of the box. But you get that communication with nature again through fungus. You know, it's very interesting how it like can help you mentally, it can help you physically, it can help you, I don't know. It's really interesting, those little reminders though. Like,
I still think mushrooms are communication with the death realm.
Death realm?
There's a lot of, I mean, mushrooms, like, no matter how you look at it, how voodoo you want to get, how in the middle, and then there's clinical practices that show that, you know, Stanford, you know, they're all doing clinical studies on it, that it cures neurodegenerative diseases, schizophrenia, and things like that. Like, you know, so what's it going to do for the regular person? It's of course going to make them better too.
Right. Well, is there really a regular person? I think that we're all just like have backed up traumas that we're really not even identifying or realizing that we have.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's a regular person. I'm talking, you know, comparing,
Compared by kids.
but we're definitely not deranged. We're normal enough to be able to, you know, there's a lot of people that
Putting in the work though, motherfuckers have to continuously work for that shit. You know, I think that it's not just I put in a little bit of work and now I'm fine. No, then you find something else, you put in more work. You know, it's like an introspective thing that never fucking ends.
Well, yeah, that's life.
Yeah. What
Yes, is that awareness? Is that like the first step in consciousness? Is understanding that, you know, like growth, like hence hence Rico created the show, Change Yourself, Change the World. And here we are. This is what we do to change ourselves, to change our world. And all our worlds seem to match up together to an extent. Obviously, otherwise we wouldn't be on the Zoom or this gathering in Oregon together.
Yeah, so it's amazing synchronicity.
Yeah, I think we all need mushrooms. Or except for Corey.
I don't need them.
You got them, man. I don't think you need.
I'm working on it.
I don't know. I don't like
or need.
because you can tap into a lot of those insights. Once you've had the experience, you can pretty much. If I want to be drunk, I can be drunk right now. I can just not like full on full blown drunk, but I can have like a controlled, relaxed state of drunkenness. You know,
Tipsy.
I can have that. That's all I really want. You know, that's all I really ever want.
I can get tipsy too.
Yeah, but okay. So with getting tipsy, are you still gonna get that? I mean, does it cause the same thing to the brain? And my argument against what you're saying is not saying that anybody needs these things per se, but sometimes when you're in the frame, when you're in the picture, and you can't see the picture when you're in the frame. So you get that little subtle reminder to pull you out and to slap you in the face.
Yeah. No, yeah, that's definitely it's medicinal. It has its benefits. Like, you know, sometimes when you're stuck, you know, in a certain mindset and you're not loosey-goosey enough to be able to move your consciousness into to remembering how you were in this time and that time, then yeah, you definitely need something to push you in there and remember you, and then now you're remembered.
Yeah, and in that same setting, it's going to be opposite. When you go to a plant-based as opposed to a symptom-based where they're basically taking a drug for the rest of their life, right? Nobody's going to sit here and want to microdose for the rest of their life. It's not even necessary, you know, for one. And two, it's like, again, the fact that you could take something that's grown from the earth and receive benefit from it. You know what I mean? Like, yeah.
Yeah, I'm just rationalizing because I got none.
I farmed some for you.
We can.
Well,
The problem is that the real growth comes from.
We'll talk off record, and I might know somebody who can take care of you.
Off the record, but the real problem with oh shit, I just lost my train of like, damn it. See, I lost my train of thought. This is the actual like I do this in front of like classes.
Did you shift into your left brain and then you lost your train of thought? Like, so,
Well, I started paying attention to what Corey is saying, and then I kind of forgot where the thought was going.
okay, you were thinking about proprietariness or
That's it though.
properness,
He was
probably.
paying attention. That's focus. That's left brain.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, I didn't go into right brain. I guess I just focus on something else and let go of the thought. But my problem is that I jump from focus to focus. I told you I have ADHD, so I do this in front of class sometimes. I'm like da 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 da. I'm like, huh?
No, it's because that whole thing we just talked about in the beginning. Like when you go deep into something,
Yeah,
in order to get back to the agenda, you have to switch to this other part of your brain.
interesting.
And yeah, that's
Yeah,
why
you're
you
right.
have this brain fart, I guess.
I do go on amazing tangents sometimes. But anyways, what was I
But
trying to?
in order to go into those amazing tangents, you have to shift to the right brain. The left brain can't do that. The left brain, I guess, just tells the right brain what it can, what to do and
Gets
things
the
about.
track to the story, and the right brain takes the story and runs with it.
Yeah.
I guess I've been talking for a long time as part of my career, so yeah.
Right. Well, because left brain wouldn't left brain mean more logical? You're thinking, you're in super thought. Like right is you're just in flow. You don't even have to think. Everything just kind of comes together. You're just present.
Have you ever been present but not there? I think of that. We had this conversation before.
I'm not sure what you mean by that.
I've been so focused on the thing itself and reading it and presenting that I kind of spaced out and started seeing from behind me. So I went so deep into this that I got out of it. I was like, what the fuck? I was like, oh no, I dove out.
Brain shit. You saw yourself?
Something like that. But this is what happens. Sometimes I catch my brain. I'm like, I catch my thought. And I'm like, where was I? What was I saying? What was I speaking? What was this? Like I've done that multiple times.
That kind of goes into the next couple of topics I want to talk about. Like, that's in Dr. Dobransky. He has this book called KWML, King, Warrior, Magician, Lover, and that he calls that observing ego, and that's actually good. That's a good thing. That's where you're basically you can perceive a lot more. Like you're kind of in a third person point of view. But he says to always practice that, and I think that's real mindfulness. Where you're not so one-sided, stuck in your.
I battle with this. I battle with having to stay on track and just letting my mind go. And I don't really battle because like fighting it, but I know that in order for me to make a point, and I just fucking rant and see what spills out and let the deities possess me and see what happens. I try to stick to that. I try to focus myself back. So I'm constantly going from that flow. I can't get into the flow because then I just don't have a point. I just keep going and going, and I keep flowing, and the flow doesn't want to stop. It wants to keep going, and eventually I have to make a point. I have to go back to that left brain. So every time I talk, I go, woo, it's like flowing into that right. And I think the moments I have gone into the right is the podcast I have done like by myself. I've done 2 by myself. One was 30 minutes and one was like an hour or something. And the one where it was just an hour, it was just me diving into that zone. And yeah, I think I'm gonna start diving into that zone when it comes to, well, at least talking about myself, but talking with people and flowing when other people are supposed to have I'm supposed to get other people's opinions and compare and contrast and do all these other things. It doesn't work. So flow works really good if you're doing a speech or a presentation. It doesn't work really good if you're doing what we're doing right now, a podcast or a discussion.
It's subjective though. I mean, it depends. You can work flow together, but it wouldn't be subjective. Like how well do we flow to where we can all have a conversations in sync? Because you can look at flow from a different perspective as opposed to you being able to flow your entire thought, your entire consciousness in the moment. You're going to catch my consciousness, your consciousness, Ahmed's consciousness back and forth. And then, oh, okay, well, now we're over here when we started over here. You know what I mean? As opposed to you take it where you want.
But yeah, you're talking about, we're still saying the same thing. Like I can't go into my flow because your flows are there as well.
Okay, so you're saying it's not like a micro flow then, kind of.
Well, it's not just
Because if
all
you're
me. It has to be me and you and Ahmed, and then we have to
flow
kind of
could be
co-create a
listening
story.
too. I get that. Flow could be listening too. So flow means how well are you intaking what that person is saying and here in the moment while they're flowing on their consciousness in the moment on whatever that thought that they're following that's taking or the sentiment that's being spoken of. And then are you here or are you thinking about something that they just said or something you're going to say in response? That's my argument.
Right. And
Because I still think you can flow with multiple people, just different in a different way.
the conversation can flow, but I don't think you guys can get into
Yeah, your own conscious
flow.
different flow. Yep.
Yeah, I don't think you can get into. I mean, if someone goes on a 3 to 4 minute monologue, all right, then you can tap into your flow. But if we're supposed to be having a dialogue, I think it's very hard to have a flow, mostly because we're trying to get points across. We're trying to agree, disagree, or put things into question. Like
Right.
we're being very left brain, very logical.
That's a good point.
Sometimes in our conversations, we do go into flow where one of us goes into one of the topics we're really charismatic and knowledgeable about, and we just let each other go into flows, and then we pick up on that, and that's cool too. But I think it's a little bit different. It's like, well, I guess going into flow workouts is the same thing, because sometimes the workout is 3 minutes and sometimes it's 2 hours. So I guess, as I say, never mind.
No,
So I guess
yeah,
we do go into flow, just different kinds of flow.
I think it's exactly the same thing. I don't think there's any difference. It's just like 10 times harder. There's just 10 times more connections,
Sure.
because there's this one world and then there's this other world, and now you got all these worlds doing commerce with each other rather than just the world doing commerce with itself.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
That's what the internet did to us. Brought us all together.
Yeah, but yeah, I can, because you definitely don't agree with yourself all the time. Do all your thoughts agree with yourself?
Hell no.
I definitely am self-sabotaging, and I definitely think negatively when sometimes I shouldn't be.
Yeah, and then plus the very nature of thought itself is this is Zen Buddhist concept, but Alan Watts talks about this all the time, how like anything we think it has like a flip side to it that's that has truth to it too, and like pretty much just anything we say, like we the nature of thought and language itself is dualistic, meaning that it's like it's showing you only one side of the coin, only the yin or the yang.
Because we can only see one side of the coin in our normal states of being. And I say your normal states of being because I'm like, all right, take enough shrooms, you're gonna see all 6 sides of that same coin. Like what? But
yeah, except when we go into that right side, then we start seeing that whole picture, which is why we can just go on these rants with the right side.
which makes me think, like, okay, the original question is we're talking about changing ourselves and what we have done to change ourselves, and we started talking about meditation and microdosing, all these things. I think people should do breathing exercises. If you don't want to do psychedelics, breathing exercises can have very similar short-term results. You're not going to have a 6-hour trip on isotropic breathing. You're just going to be breathing the whole time like that. You might, but it's going to be intense.
I mean, I can go as far as say ice baths, ice showers could work for you. Cold showers, man, right now is a game changer.
Cold showers will fucking, if you're in a meditative state and you're shocked your body with cold water, you
have no choice but to breathe right.
Not only that, but I have felt like, I remember one time, I don't know if I was high or if I wasn't, but I was taking a shower, and then I do turn it to cold at the end just to get that same effect. I don't shower completely with cold because I like hot showers.
Not time. At our first apartment when we were forced to shower in the cold.
Yeah, that was fucking brutal, dude. I was doing that for months. That shit was horrible. Well, regardless of that, no, one time cold water hit me, and then I literally felt like, I don't know, it was like a bluish entity, Medusa looking, had hair, like big ass snakes and shit. And it was just like a deathly cold stare looking at me. And I was like, oh, what the fuck? I was reacting to the water because it was cold as shit. But that's the image that popped into my head when I had that feeling. And I was like, whoa, that was just fucking weird. That was just unexpected, random image just flashed before my eyes. I was like, okay, that's weird. I don't think I was high too. I don't think I was high. I might have been though. I might have been. But anyways, cold water, yes. Breathing exercises, yes. They'll change your states of mind. The thing I've actually been doing consistently, more than anything else, is Isha Kriya. And I was doing it over there with you, Ahmed, but I sabotage myself a lot. But Isha Kriya, it's become more of a necessity now. Like, you can feel energies go zzz. And literally, that's what they say. This is to settle your energies. So it'll help you balance this and then this, that. And I feel it right after that 15-minute practice. It's completely different. And it usually makes me more meditative and want to do chanting and go out, do more spiritual work. So that's a good first thing that I'm doing that people can do themselves. They can look up Isha Kriya online and do it themselves. It's chanting, it's breathing, and it's sitting there. Yeah. What about you guys? Nothing? Not changing anything?
I've been doing a lot of PC exercises. Those are pretty good. I've learned to distinguish people cackle, like, Kegel exercises.
I need to start doing more of those. Those
Yeah,
are
so there's
shit.
a lot of subtlety. Like, you're not
There is.
supposed to clench. You're not supposed to tighten any other part of your body. So in order to do that, you have to learn to identify the Kegel muscles. And we actually have 4 different Kegel exercises to do. In order to do
Damn, I
that.
heard that for women, not for males. I didn't. That's my first encounter.
No,
Oh no,
dude, Kegel
for
exercises are
men,
great for men.
yeah, for men, there's like, this is one of those things. It's like water, because uh,
Like what?
for men, there's like this universe of sexuality, and within that, the core thing about men is um, we're the opposite of women in the Taoist explanation. We're the opposite of women in the sense that when we ejaculate, we lose all of our energy.
They gain energy, man.
Yeah.
That's so
The
wild.
women, this, I'm going into like some other tangent that I shouldn't, but it's like in the Surangama Sutra, Buddha talks about this, how in this age of like of extreme sexuality, due to that principle that you know about it, what happens is, since women actually gain energy and men lose energy, what happens is, like, in this dharma ending age, men are going to live like really short lives, and then women are going to actually live like really long lives, because they're absorbing
Yeah,
all this
because we're
sexual
constantly just giving our energy away.
yeah,
Like,
exactly.
God
Yeah,
damn.
so yeah, going back to the main point though, like we and there's a lot of other things about this, that there's like tons of amazing books on this, and it's called Brahmacharya, or you can just look up semen retention on Reddit and stuff. But the basic idea is that there's so many uh, horizontal axes of development that happen by conserving your semen, and it's limitless. And religious books talk about it, self-development stuff, everyone talks about it. The only people that are not going to talk about it is the modern science community, who believe in, you know oh, you don't have a gender, oh, 2 + 2 = 5,
yeah.
oh, it's okay to jack off, oh, it's okay to like teach kindergarten kids to pleasure themselves. Like,
That's weird.
this is what modern
That's weird shit.
science is. This is what bought out science is telling us. The corona hoax, but movement.
Think
So
about it. Any real scientist that's selling you a product can't necessarily, like, That's the thing. We have technicians that, like, I'm hearing technicians that are selling products. The scientists are trying to disprove themselves. That's really all they're ever trying to do. Like, or it depends on what science we're talking about too, because there's different categories of science.
Yeah.
This shit is garbage. Like, math isn't science. Like, even this is so crazy.
Yeah, but like, yeah, just to so the main thing though is yeah, semen retention for men, due to that basic principle that the Taoists explained. This principle is worth $1,000,000, knowing that principle, because it's so obvious, because the religious books talked about it already. But for us, it's worth $1,000,000 because as men, if we listen to modern science's advice on this, we're just going to end up being degenerates and not achieving our full potential. And all you have to do is just not not become so hypersexual. And if you are going to be hypersexual, then you better work on your Kegel exercises, like hella.
Yeah, I need to start working on my Kegel exercises. That's for sure.
And even if you aren't going to be sexual, if you're like a celibate monk, it's still important to work on your Kegel exercises, because when you reach certain states of meditation, really subtle samadhi realms and stuff, what happens is your whole body becomes soft, and then your body enters in a state of bliss. And at that point, even though you're not doing anything sexual, you can still have like a wet dream basically at that time. And I'm sure we've all experienced that kind of thing in our adolescent years, where we would pretty much naturally have long bouts of semen retentive, uh, times. And those are times we had a lot of wet dreams, because that our bodies were just inundated with all this energy, and in our dream realms, they actually become actualized, because we tap into, we're in all those realms right now. It's just that we're not really tapped into it right now. We're just in a more of a conscious level awareness, but we're not.
Manipulated world.
So what you're saying is we can have dream orgies.
Yeah, we're having those orgies all the time.
What?
Just that, even right now, your body is having orgies right in all the time. It's just that your mind isn't in that, you're just not focusing on it.
Interesting.
Like, you're just not focusing. It's kind of like when it's called science. Modern science has their modern boring names for it. It's called the reticular activation system, where your mind isn't, your mind is focused on something, then you're aware of it. But when you're not focused on it, then you just kind of ignore it.
Mm.
So
Okay.
like in the
So
more
we're just not paying attention to the orgies going on around us.
within us, around
Within us,
us,
yeah.
yeah, that akashic layer, yeah, in the spiritual community, that they have those different layers. Those things are real. Like, you actually have different bodies, and I mean, I'm saying this authoritatively, not because I experienced it, but because, like, all the spiritual texts talk about it. And not just spiritual texts from Hinduism, but Buddhism, Taoism, Christianity, like, all of them talk about it in this parallel format, like, where you can just, like, literally match it up. Like, they all talk about the same thing, but it's not, so are they all a conspiracy? Are they all, like, in a conspiracy together? No, it doesn't make any
Yes.
sense. So yeah, they
Oh,
had, these
conspiracy.
isolated monks that never left their community ever, and they become enlightened, and all they did is write this biography, and that's all they did. They cultivated, they achieved enlightenment or whatever, and they had all these experiences that went all the way towards enlightenment. And those experiences are related to seeing and experiencing these different levels of consciousness that we're all carrying around with us all the time, and we just don't tap into it all the time normally, because in order to tap into it, we have to kind of really relax our minds, which we're really only doing when we're entering that altered state known as sleep. Yeah, but in that altered state, you can easily, like, lose your life essence. And going back to the topic at hand, like, the
Wait, you can lose your
Kegel.
life essence?
Yeah, your semen.
Ah,
It's not the
so
so
if you
it's
have a
not the
wet
semen. Yeah, it's not the semen itself. It's like, so it's not like, oh, um, this kind of weird subject. You can't be like eating your semen and stuff. Like, oh, jizz, or you can't be like eating your semen and then you'll get it back, because the quintessence, isn't fully in there. It's actually like it degenerates really quickly. So it's not like um it's not fully contained in there. So you actually, like, I guess it evaporates it out. I'm not sure exactly of the biophysical energetic standpoint of what exactly happens, but you can't just reabsorb the semen like a woman can. Like, women, they're the inverse. So when they when they have orgasm, they actually lose only 10%, whereas we're the inverse. We lose 90% um of our gathered energy. And that's because we're basically the male spiders,
I
you
get
know.
eaten after,
Yeah, we're basically just pawns for the
or
natural biological paradigm that we're in.
the male honeybee that loses its dies after having sex.
Yeah, but yeah, but you can say F that, and you can cultivate this natural thing to like magnificent godlike levels, because there's godlike potential in that shit.
Oh, dude, it does sound like a tempting offer.
But yeah,
Godlike,
and
godlike levels.
you can, you don't have to become completely celibate. It's one key thing is there's a few other important things, especially the mind level. But even if you don't have the mind level, the physical level control is really important, because you can pull back. It's called the pull or something.
Yeah. So one actual physiological benefit of the Kegel exercises. I used to do them. I don't know why the fuck I stopped doing them. Well, I kind of. But one of the actual
I'm doing them right now.
benefits is I'm doing it right now. Well, I like to focus on the Kegels. I treat it as a meditative practice. No, I actually do. Like it takes your fucking energy to focus on that one spot and tighten it up for a couple of seconds and then let it go. Like it's like flexing your arm. It takes focus if you've never worked them. But whatever. One of the actual benefits is you're able to not control, but you don't have like premature ejaculation bullshit. You just don't have it. It doesn't exist if you're doing Kegels. Why? Because, well, first of all, you're actually flexing those muscles and using those fucking, well, using that wiring there. So, first of all, it's making sure that the wiring is working. Second, you learn breathing control. And once you learn breathing control, especially related to your penis, it's going to help you last as long as she needs to last, which is kind of what I like to do. I hate finishing first because it seems wasteful because I keep having sex. Well, why would I finish if I can keep having sex? Is my point. So
Yeah, there, you have. I'm just be honest. You have this idea that's very common
mm,
in the Western idea that, and it's because porn and stuff. But who cares about her? It's not about her at all. It's all about
I care
you.
about her. No, it's not because I can come very easily. And the more pleasure I give her, the more pleasure I get. The bigger my orgasm is. 1,000%, 1,000,000%.
It's
I
as
have
as
fucked more, dude, bro. Like,
there's a good book on the the Way of the Superior Man by David Data.
Yeah.
It has a lot of these basic principles that will help to reach the conclusion that it's you got to do what's most important for you. There's plenty of other ways to pleasure women. There's a book called She Comes First by Ian Kerner. He talks about the importance of non-penile penetration and
okay.
yeah,
Oral
yeah,
sex?
yeah, oral sex, finger and stuff like that will actually be a lot more helping her. If you're really interested in helping her, those are far more effective in being able to surgically help her, achieve, and having way more control over her too.
Sensual touch too. Like you don't even have to like
Oh
go
yeah, there's some
near her
really
vagina, and women will get off too.
fringe stuff about how you can use your voice, like phone sex. There's some interesting programs by Ross Jeffries where he talks about how he gets women off with just like, and women actually admit that they actually have like actual orgasm because the woman's mind is totally different from ours in that the sexual element is totally connected to how she's feeling in that moment. And this is why women are basically untrustworthy because she's not like logical like you and I, like men. She's more connected to how she's feeling right now. Oh, the mailman made her feel excited. Okay, now the mailman's the center of her world. That because women's sexuality revolves around their emotion, and there's a lot of evolutionary biology books that talk about why that's designed and why we wouldn't be here if it wasn't like that. One of the many reasons is that if a woman was the whole in India where women go kill they kill themselves after their husband dies. If every woman did that, then we'd be pretty because humanity is pretty we've had a pretty destructive war-filled time, right? And there's a lot of women are shared among men and stuff, and we've been a kind of a communal culture, and if women didn't learn to move on, especially like pretty quickly, then they wouldn't take care of their kids. They would have all sorts of I don't know what it's called, but like revenge syndrome, where they're like they hate the child and stuff like that. And they'll like harm the child because the child is from another man. But
Spiteful motherhood sounds like.
All these things happen. Yeah. All these things are real right now.
yeah, but yeah, that's why.
Wait, so I still don't understand why I shouldn't give a shit about her.
Well, you should give a shit about yourself first, but never compromise yourself for her.
How would I compromise myself by not coming? That look, you just literally
didn't say
said
that. He
that.
just
Oh, no,
said,
no,
he
I
just
thought
said
you
he
were.
receives more pleasure if he pleases her first.
Well, the more pleasure I give her, the more pleasure I get. It's like literally exponentially related. If I have selfish sex, which I have had before, then I don't really give a shit. And I kind of do whatever the fuck, and probably not as good. Then as I'm actually not manipulating her, but using her mind, body, and soul at the same time, like talking to her a certain way, touching her a certain way, um, kissing her a certain way, like the things to stimulate, not just pure sex. Not people, they're sexual, but not. It's not just not just sex. So again, just the more pleasure I give her, the more pleasure I get. Like the most intense orgasms I've ever had were like when she was way super satisfied. Let's say that. So she being super satisfied led me to have amazing orgasms, and I was like, okay, maybe there's a thing about not being a selfish lover, and yeah, I don't know. I don't think that that's a problem. I don't like being a selfish lover, and if I do come across a selfish lover, like a woman that's a selfish lover, I'll lose interest extremely quick, extremely quick. I don't care how hot she is. I just stop caring, and once I stop caring, then there's no point in continuing the relationship.
Yeah. No. Yeah. I think I was thinking. Yeah, you're right. Those are important points. I think when you were saying about how you don't want to do this because it's about her, that kind of mindset. That's not the whole thing. Like because when you're doing these,
No, I didn't really say that. I think the only reason I said I don't want to come is because I stop having sex. So if you come in 10, 15 minutes, that means you can't have sex for half an hour. potentially, however how long she would want to go. Like I only want to go as long as she's comfortable with it and she's enjoying it. Like there's times where it's just not.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's just coming from the right mindset, like, kind of like a business, like, oh, I don't want to do this business thing because, and I just think of other parallels, but I don't want to do this business thing because it doesn't make this much money. The thing is the principle. I don't want to do this because this is not aligning to my principle of this, like this core, this is not giving value. I'm not to myself, like this, I'm not getting any, like, coaching, for instance. Corey coaches because he gains things from teaching people. He wouldn't be coaching if he was bored doing it, and so
I know some people coach will probably coach even if they're bored doing it. They'll just coach with something they know. They don't know.
well, that they might say that, but no one, they gain a lot. Coaching and teaching, it has a lot of subsidiary benefits, and they might not be verbalizing that, but yeah, I guess, like, yeah, that side that you're talking about is very important, but I think there's another important side too, that when you're doing like advanced Taoist practices and you've got the whole semen game down, you're supposed to do this energetic rotations, and you're focusing on your own body sensations, and you're in a meditative realm, and that realm doesn't involve thinking about her. It doesn't involve thinking about, because that's for her. Her body is for her to focus on. Her cultivation is for her to focus on. This is stuff that, like, this advanced Taoist stuff. This isn't stuff that, hey,
wait, hold on.
we're gonna have a one night stand and we're gonna be no.
So when you're talking about advanced cultivation stuff, we're having sex with people.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was like, why would if we're meditating, why would we care what the hell other person's like? No, okay, but okay. So
yeah,
we're
there's
both having
advanced
sex, we're both focusing on it.
cultivation. Once you've got the whole, level 1, level 2, this is like level 3, where you're doing energy circulation, because the penis and the vagina, when they connect, it's basically like a key and an ignition switch, and then you're basically like clicking the ignition switch, and it basically, you can, if you do tantric cultivation properly. We should probably not publish this because this is really advanced stuff, and I don't think this is supposed to even be explained. I'm probably gonna get bad karma for talking about.
Well, I don't know about all that.
I'm not gonna explain this
Google
anymore.
all this. I'm pretty sure all
Not
this
that
can be
much.
Googled. And
Yeah, that's as far as I'll say. Yep.
well, I'll continue the conversation and say I've had those unintended energy fucking things going on, because that's my main reason for meditating and doing all of these stuff. Is the first time I realized that there was something more than just that there was energy, that there was something else, was sex. That was my first experience into energy, because I was like, I understand the biological aspects of this, I understand all of this, but this is simply by looks, igniting different kinds of chemicals and doing all this other, like, it's just crazy. So the first reason I was interested in energy and so on and so forth was sex, because of sexual energy. And I think is the easiest thing for people to realize exist. Once you realize, okay, sexual energy, there's a type of thing, there's a type of energy that gets around when you're in that kind of mood and that state. What else is there? But yeah, I've had those experiences where I felt like I was giving her energy. I don't think she knew what the hell she was doing, because yeah, I like experimenting and seeing. Well, I meditate and I chant and do all these things. I like seeing how things react. But I've felt where I've given and then I have taken and then I have given and then I have taken. I'm not sure if they're rotating the right way, but I have felt energy exchanges on both sides, and it's pretty freaking awesome. Pretty freaking awesome.
Yeah, so that's really advanced tantric stuff. And originally, there's been a what do you call it? A walk on this information. Like,
Taoist people, they wouldn't allow any of this stuff to be explained outside of the sect. But I think now, like they, my teacher, he was like talking about how they basically like unlocking it, because we're basically in a Dharma ending age where people need all the shortcuts and things they can, especially where people are just wasting their sexual energy instead of cultivating it. They're just kind of throwing it all away into a napkin somewhere instead of like cultivating their mind and body and to become like superhuman and help the world. And also not just this world, but the many other planets in this universe that we transmigrate to and from.
Yeah, well, I can only agree with you, man. Like, I think I should save more of my seed, I guess. It makes sense. I that's one thing that I've been, it's the other biological imperative. First of all, I stopped feeling ashamed of jerking off, because there's a time where I was having these thoughts and I was like, well, I want to save my energy. I want to do this. And every time I did jerk off, I just felt bad. So now I don't feel bad. It's not that it didn't help me. Feeling the shame, giving myself shame didn't fucking help me. So
How did you get through that though? Did you just say, I'm not going to shame myself anymore? You just decided not to feel bad anymore? How did you go about that?
it was something like that. Like, the reason, like, everything's good in that moment. It was like, honestly, it was just like cheating. Like, it just in the moment, yes. And then as soon as it's done, you're like, fuck. So I don't have that feeling anymore. So when I do it or don't do it, I either commit or I don't. And if I commit, then what the fuck? Why am I gonna bitch right after? And if I say no, I'm not gonna do it, then okay, and that's that. So it's just like, there's a conscious acceptance of what's to happen, and it's not like, oh my gosh, I'm being possessed by demons and they're forcing me to jet. No, man, like there's a biological imperative that I have, and there's this fucking, I can't fucking focus sometimes. I really fucking can't. Like, I know it doesn't help me, because then it resets the clock, and then a couple hours later or days later, like, it's gonna do the same thing. But sometimes just busting the nut helps those energies calm the fuck down. And literally, the best meditation for me in the morning is sex. Like that. And since I'm not getting that right now, it's kind of hard to just, to switch that off into nothing. Actually, I should switch that to meditation. But yeah, I agree with you. But yeah, that's how I stop feeling shame. I when I do it, I'm gonna do it and fully commit to it, or I'm not. Because if I'm kind of half yes, half no, yes, no, you this, that. If you're doubting yourself, don't fucking do it. And if you're gonna fucking do it, don't doubt yourself. Like, the action's gonna be done. Yes, there's repercussions to you losing energy. There's a lot of clocks that get reset. There's a lot of things you can't cultivate. You putting shame on yourself and saying no, blah 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 blah, it wasn't helping me. Maybe it helps other people. Maybe David Goggins is a person like I help more, and he's like, oh, you a punk ass bitch, why the fuck do you? Maybe it helps him more if he tells himself that, but
Nah, that's just Instagram marketing. He ain't saying that to himself.
I don't know. Didn't he hear the stuff where he recorded something to himself and he didn't want to run, and it was like, I sounded like a punk ass bitch. I was like, he right. But
no, I mean that's cool. I've done that before. Like, you should do recordings of post jizz regret. Record yourself talking to your future self, and then listen to that. Like, that's a really good trick to not trick, but that's a really you're the master of yourself. So if you can't listen to yourself, like, dang, who are you gonna listen to?
write that down. I'm gonna remember this on post jizz regret recording, and I'll just be like, no
like,
regrets.
For anything, like, because we're changing from moment to moment.
It's true.
And like, the person you are today, you're gonna forget it tomorrow. Like, sleep. You're basically a new person, and that's a great thing.
It's true.
Sleep is a great thing, but you have to realize that you're not who you are yesterday, but you are responsible for who you are. Because the only Yeah, you're responsible for who you are tomorrow, and you're also responsible for the way you fucked up yesterday or whatever.
Yeah.
Basically, like, if you're basically backstabbing yourself if you can't do something that you really feel like doing.
Yeah. This is another thing. Is like there's one thing where like meat, eating meat. It's not. I'm not compelled to eat meat. Like I don't feel like I'm fighting myself to not eat meat. It's just not something I'm fucking craving. So there's no energy expenditure there. But if you want to do something, you're constantly telling yourself, no, don't do it. And then you're like, all right, do it. No, don't do it. All right, do it. No, don't do it. And you're constantly going back and forth. Not only are you wasting a ton of energy that you're not going to be able to use anywhere else, it's not fucking helping you, man. Like, just take responsibility. Like, if you do jerk off, just realize that, okay, if you were trying to conserve your energy, well, you know, fucking do it. If you were trying to do this or that, then that's not going to happen. There are not consequences. They're not really consequences, but there are things that happen when you do it. Just accept them fully, and realize that, all right, this behavior can be bad if done compulsively, and you should check yourself when you are doing it compulsively. Like, sometimes I catch myself doing it compulsively too. It's just those moments of hypersexuality. Like, getting rid of hypersexuality is extremely fucking hard. I've found that it's harder to get rid of hypersexuality than it is to get rid of sugar, and sugar is heroin.
No, yeah, that's your. I have like years of notes, like like in my notebook that'll take like a long time to explain. But one thing that struck at me, like the first thing to do is like just learn about things from this, and just no need to shame yourself, no need to do any of that. Just start learning about it. But
Yeah.
one key thing that I really, this is like the most powerful thing that I have in my notes, which is that basically, you're nature's bitch. Do you want to keep being nature's bitch? Like, that's because that's basically the essence of what the thing. The more like expounded version is that nature basically directs you. You're basically like a bag of genes, and nature put all these desires and cravings in you in order to make sure that you're going to propagate them, and all these thoughts and emotions that you have, they're not really who you are. Who you are is actually, once you emptied your ball sacks, that's who you actually are, because that's where nature actually, the mind controlling things of nature, that's where kind of it came off. Now you're actually thinking clear, you're actually thinking straight. When you're not thinking clear and you're not thinking straight, you're thinking all about sex and swiping and all this stuff, all this stuff that we do that orients around the biological god, aka woman, aka reproduction, instead of the transcendental god, aka cosmic consciousness, Buddhahood, becoming God, and transcending the fleshly plane of existence. Those are the things that you really want, but they get crowded out. They get crowded out because of the biological programming that's fixing you in this form in order to do the two things that nature wants you to do: survive and replicate. So you gotta say no to the latter one.
Yeah.
Especially because nowadays, we have so much. I think it's so important for people just to learn about this stuff and to normalize themselves. And those are part and parcel of the same thing. You got to learn about stuff and come back to step zero. And in order to do that, you got to just learn more about how reality is and what it is really, and not just what media programs you with all the images and expectations and being married at a certain age. having an X number of sexual experiences at an X age. Like all these things are just societal programming.
Yeah, for anybody.
And it's still,
Go for it. My bad.
no, yeah, it's still ingrained in us. It's crazy. You got to get rid of all the guilt surrounding all that stuff.
Yeah, you really do have to let go of all the guilt and expectations and stuff. And porn does lead to expectations. And just be real, people. The best sex you have will probably not look like porn sex. It shouldn't look like porn sex, because porn sex is meant to be, I don't know, kind of savage. Like, you can look at romantic porn, it's just not as hot. But where was I going with this shit? Oh yeah, porn does lead to a lot of expectations, and it also leads to a lot of, I don't know, man.
Porn's totally fake. It's just it's a show. Like people should not watch porn. Like I'm totally. It takes me a lot of self-control sometimes. Sometimes I'll just be like curious. I wonder what. But you know, like one night, the thought that the most powerful thought that I have, that everyone has like different, like there's like a ton of different things that are reasons not to watch porn, and you know, just like there's a ton of reasons to become vegetarian, but someone might do it for one reason more than another. But for porn, like it actually feeds this this demonic pyramid of energy that's fueling the sex trafficking industry.
It's true. That is true.
Also take a step back and realize it's an adult entertainment industry. You know, like if people weren't so bored with their lives and didn't want to be entertained by other people's lives, it wouldn't be making so much fucking money as it is.
Well,
Yeah, there's a lot of other reasons, and I might say that this thought is the most biggest reason, but there's probably the even bigger reason might be the one that I'm not looking at, which is that simply just not beneficial for the mind. It's just not good for your mind to have those images in your head and to have all those thoughts, because the things you look at, the images that you have in your mind, those are important. Those are basically like micro affirmations.
that's true. 1000%. Yeah, I don't know. How the hell do you get off of this shit though? Like,
I don't know, man. I'll be honest. Most of the sex I've had in my life has all looked like it's been in porn, I guess.
has what? You said most of the sex you had in your life has what? Are you saying you're copying from porn? What the hell?
Copying from porn? No.
No, what did you say? Like, I didn't hear you.
It's just been that style of sex. I don't know. I've just attracted that type of woman.
Oh yeah, it's just different kind of women have different kind of ways of showing passion, I guess is one way to call it. And maybe the woman that you hooked up with also looked at a ton of porn. I've probably had a mixed range of them, and most of them, what the fuck's food? Just literally, yeah, most of them probably didn't look at porn. So I've had a lot of sex like that, but a lot of sex wasn't like that as well. What the hell? What is going on with you two?
Yeah, I think that's one reason I gotta find a girl overseas. But yeah, I think like because their minds are more innocent, and the experience is more original, and rather than let's follow this program. But yeah, even I think the most important thing with the most important benefit with not watching porn is that it's gonna deprogram, and like sure you learn all this cool stuff, and it is actually learning. All these different things are real, but some of the stuff gets into like deranged level stuff, like eating. I don't think eating butts is really normal.
I don't know, man.
I don't know.
There's some very big proponents of ass eating out there.
Yo, there's a lot of women that really enjoy that too.
there's a lot of nerds and they're really sensitive on there. I mean, yeah, I don't know about all that.
No foot fetishes and like licking feet and.
That's a very interesting. I've heard of people with that. I don't know, man.
I'm not sure about.
I've never eaten a girl's ass. I'll say that on record right now. But I've definitely seen and heard from women's mouths that apparently they enjoy that. I mean, Janae Aiko made a song that said "Eat the booty like groceries," unless she was just trying to make a joke.
I mean, yeah, I guess some people could find it pleasurable after the first round of like, ugh. Like, because I think the biggest here is are like, ugh.
Well, I'll even go as far as like there's women out there that like anal sex, but they'll like take precautions and they'll go ahead and like clean themselves prior to going into the circumstance. You know, like it's not like they just jump into it.
Yeah, they just keep the possibilities open.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, did you really want to do that without being programmed to do that?
Interesting.
You know, would you naturally have done that? And, you know, if you did, then that's great, you know. That's just a natural expression of your sexuality, and you can express sexuality in, like, pretty much any way. There's infinite number of ways you can express sexuality just by looking at each other. In certain heavens of the Buddhist realms, and they have babies just like with the, you know, by looking at each other.
That's fucking insane. You look at a cute chick and you're like, babies.
Yeah, so like there's a really good book on I have to read it. It's on my reading list, but I skimmed it, and then the basic point of the book is it teaches you how to have a more loving attitude towards sex rather than a sexual attitude towards sex. It's called Sex as a Meditation or something like that. I gotta look at the name, but
that's a great idea.
Yeah,
that's what I want to do. I think that's the best way to meditate, in my opinion.
Yeah, it is. It's actually the you know, this whole sect of Buddhism, it's called Left Door Taoism or Left Door Tao. It's been protected for a while, but it's like I think now is the time for it because we don't really have that much time to get along.
That's real.
And like we don't have that much time, peace, and we also simultaneously have enough educatedness to be able to possibly succeed at it. But it's really dangerous because there are things that can go wrong. And you do need a lot of virtue and even-mindedness and purity to actually do it.
Damn.
Ironically, like this sexual path actually requires you to be really pure and clear-minded.
That makes sense, though. That actually does make sense because then you get into these weird distortions and yeah, you get delusional. If you're not pure with this, you would get delusional and it turns into a power play instead of just a love play. So I guess you do have to be more loving.
Yeah, sure.
All right, so let's start wrapping this up because we've been talking for a minute now, and I'm pretty sure y'all got shit to do. So let's bring it to this question: How do we unlearn this hypersexuality that society and ourselves have instilled inside of us? If that's what you wish, like if you don't care about your hypersexuality, if you're 1,000% okay with it, then that's cool, man. There are consequences to being hypersexual. Yeah. So as long as you're able to deal with them and you're okay with them, then fuck it. So how do we deal with this? How do we unlearn this thing? Or do we even deal with this? Or like, I don't know, man. This is harder than quitting sugar.
You should also take a step back and ask the question. And since you guys were talking about Kegel exercises for men, you should shoot the men that listen to this podcast in the direction to be able to learn to do that, since they won't like search the internet, or some people will, but you know, if you can give them a direction.
There's Kegel exercise apps. There's apps that help you do Kegel exercise.
Oh shit! Shout them out. Tell the people.
Well, I really don't know them, but I've seen them. I had one of them before, but all it is you hold the muscles that usually hold your erection. You find those muscles. There's a collection of muscles in your anus and douche, not douche, there between the balls and whatever. There's a collection of muscles there. And whatever holds the erection, usually a lot of them, that's what you're supposed to tighten up. Ahmed was talking about 4 different muscle groups. in the beginning, you're not going to feel any of them. You're going to have to try to feel all of them. You're going to have to clump them up and tighten the whole section up. And eventually you're going to be able to focus into the specific muscles. But in the beginning, you're basically, imagine you have a hard on, the muscles that allowed you to control that hard on to make it harder or loosen it up. That's kind of what you're working on, and you're flexing. You're doing a 5-second hold and then release 2 seconds, 5-second hold and then release 2 seconds. This is a basic Kegel. Yeah, online, dude, there's tons of things and all this other stuff. So
there you go. I'm sure they wanted to hear,
yeah,
y'all was talking about it.
It's really helpful. And if you really want to last longer in bed, this is kind of what I was using it for. Like, you last way longer once you control those muscles, and once you learn how to breathe with those muscles, you're gonna feel like 10-15 seconds before you come. You're like, oh, my body's ramping up to the final point. Let me take it a step down so we can keep going. Because realize, once you ejaculate, it's really hard to. It's not. You can keep going, but it's much harder to keep going than if you didn't ejaculate. That's for sure.
Yeah, there's a lot of good books. And
I feel like you probably oh shit, there's good books. What books? Shout those out.
The Ultimate Ejaculation Mastery.
Damn.
Sounds really good.
I would say, Rico, also because when men ejaculate, then you just, wouldn't you say you release those hormones too? So then you're not really as, I don't know, I feel like something's going on there.
What do you mean?
You're not primal. Like, once you ejaculate the first time, I mean, you can still have it, but like, if you're not hypersexual, you're not going to really be horny again. But there are times when that can occur.
Yeah, it just depends on how hot she is and how much she wants it. But
or in some people's cases, they might be on drugs, so they can just keep going.
That's true. At the same time, as you get older, that energy does start to dwindle down. And I noticed that very much in like the past couple of years. I was like, what the fuck? What is up with me? Why can't I keep up? And I was like, oh shit. And yes, that's to do with diet and exercise and all this other stuff too, but not taking all those in consideration, because I wasn't taking those consideration either before. Yeah, age, like your hormone levels and what you need and what you want is going to change. And like, I don't know. Yeah, being 20 is much different than being 30.
I would say I don't have anything to worry about my libido, but yeah, definitely not the same way I was in my early 20s.
Well, I think it actually has affected my libido, meaning that I can't go for as long and as many times now as I could before, even if everything else was the same. And I'm talking about like, it's not hypersexuality, but
the refractory period is a little larger.
Yeah. Like the refractory period is a little bit longer right now. I'm not that old, to be honest, but like before, like teenage years and young 20s, I used to be able to finish and just be like, all right, let's fucking go at it again. Like it was no fucking issue. And now the hormones in my brain seem to be a little bit different and make me want to take a nap more, which was not the case before. The case wasn't like I always wanted to take a nap after having sex. No, that's been happening more recently in the past couple of years. But anyway, it might just be the diet and all this other stuff as well. Everything kind of just compounding. And
no, it's definitely age. It does happen with. I mean, I'm definitely there too. Let me say one fearful thing here. If you are wanting to follow this left door Taoist path and try this shortcut towards enlightenment, which is basically what it is, it can cut down the spiritual path from like 10 years to just like 3 years, like to having the golden immortal body. You can actually do that in like 3 years if you do sexual cultivation right. But the fearful thing is that if you've diminished your sexual energy because you've thrown it out, there's also in Church Chinese medicine talk about how when you've thrown it out long enough, you don't just throw away the regenerative one. There's also this non-generative one called prenatal qi. You're born with a certain amount of this prenatal qi, and it basically reduces over time. And if you throw away your regenerative chi too much, then you tap into that prenatal chi, and you basically become older faster. And if you're too old, that could be in your late 40s, late 50s, whenever your life force is dwindling, then you basically can't do the shortcut anymore unless you take special herbs to jump that back up. So yeah, it's good to conserve and at least do some basic conservation.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. The only positive thing I can say in this one is
yeah, in terms of resources, the best resource on this subject is go to Reddit, start seeing retention, and then on the right side, there's like a link for like the whole library. There's like ginormous library of books and stuff, which are extremely valuable.
go to Reddit. Shit, I've never heard that as a official source. Reddit. But yeah, it makes sense.
It's like a source of sources, yeah.
Yeah, it's a community, and then there's documents there. I get it. All right. No, what I was gonna say, the only positive thing is yeah, I don't know. I guess the post jizz regret recording. No, not post jizz regret. It's just if you're gonna do it, and if you're not, don't play with yourself in the middle and be like, this or that or this. Don't make it too much of a big deal. All right. Save your energy as much as you can. And if you don't, then let that shit go. You don't need to add more negative energy or more bullshit to your fucking head. So yeah, do it or don't do it. Just let that shit go as soon as possible. Have no regret. Don't be proud, because what's it called? Unwarranted pride or just useless pride, or I don't know what the word is, but just unearned pride or things you don't need to be prideful for. Like, yeah, don't be prideful. Don't feel shamed. It is what it is. And call it a biological urge and move on. Ideally, you do get a golden body. Or what do you call it? What do you call it? A golden body?
Golden immortal body. That's like the 10th type of immortality that you can achieve.
So you get to level 10 immortality if you don't do it for 3 years and do it the right way. But there's also more relevant actual like psychological and physical benefits if you do retain.
Yeah. I mean, you don't have to do you don't have to do anything in order to get these benefits. That's literally the easiest thing. Like,
don't do anything.
You basically don't do anything. You don't. That's like the whole spiritual process too. I mean, it's not even bigger level. But in this case, you don't have to do anything special. You can still think about random stuff. You can still be negative even. It doesn't. You are gonna have small disadvantages, but all you have to do is just like not lose your semen. That means you can still have sex. You can still even masturbate and stuff. But
yeah, that's what I was gonna ask.
In
this Taoist realm and the Taoist thing, is edging still a thing?
Yeah, that's what we're talking about. So like initially, you're edging and otherwise, what's the point of how are you going to test your mastery of your PC muscles if you can't edge?
There you go.
Yeah, so you have to be able to edge on command, like no matter what, because what happens is when you reach that, like, we're going back and talking about what if you're that solo monk and stuff, but and you achieve that super spiritual state and you're about to jizz because it's so pleasurable. It's more pleasurable than, because a few of the spiritual books, when they compare what samadhi is like, and they compare it to sex, and they're saying that it's like thousands of times more blissful than sex. So how easily are you going to freaking jizz if your body feels like that?
I think that should be the ad that would get more people, most people. Want to feel something 1,000 more times more powerful than sex? go samadhi, something like that. Just become enlightened in just 3 easy steps and 5 payments of 1,000. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, that would work, for someone who hasn't heard that phrase already, but it's kind of pretty common, and if you read any of the yogic texts, like, talks about that.
It's pretty funny. But yeah, okay.
Yeah, like, that's why it's so important to cultivate that, and yeah, you don't even have to, you don't even have to edge. Like, you don't, a lot of people, the NoFap, if you check out NoFap group,
Yeah.
they also, they believe that you don't edge, because edging is also just a distraction. But and so just focus all your energy into, because a lot of the people that try to be like, edge, and they, instead of cultivating their life, which is what they should direct their, Napoleon Hill, he has, Think and Grow Rich, he talks about sexual sublimation. So yeah, NoFap is more like sexual sublimation. You just totally just forget women, at least for a while, and forget the sexual drive that nature is forcing you into. Just focus on yourself and achieving your goals and getting more buff, getting more fit and healthy and mentally healthy, and achieving all your goals pretty much. Like, in that sexual energy that normally, when you don't focus on sexual energy, it just scatters and it just makes you think about all sorts of stuff. Now when you direct it and give it a place to go, then that's what you're supposed to do. The reason it's scattered and stuff is because you didn't give it a place to go. So now that you give it a place to go, now you don't feel as sexually unrestful.
Yeah. It's a creeping energy, and you're like, you start becoming more and more tense. But if you can guide that energy in another way that's more beneficial to you, and why not? And well, I want to get Corey's thoughts on this before we bounce, but I just want to bring in something. When we were talking about samadhi and you have to learn how to edge, because you have to learn the difference between the flaccid state kind of thing, or you have to learn how to not take yourself over the edge, in more ways than one, in essence. And yeah, that totally makes sense, because during my meditation, there are many times where I'm breathing in, and then on the out, it's like I'm able to hold a place where my breath stopped, and then I breathe out, and then when I breathe in, the breath starts again from a certain place, like a certain focused place, and then I try to go from the bottom from the bottom of my lungs all the way to the top of my head, basically, and try to focus on select points. And sometimes I feel like it's like edging, but edging the focus of your energy kind of thing. And yeah, I can see how that would relate to sex and samadhi. It's interesting. All right, Corey, are you still here?
Yes, sir.
All right, man. So what are some things that can help people listening out there to stop being so hypersexualized? I mean, unless you want them to be hypersexualized, and that's your opinion.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I think here's my thing. Do what you want to do. If you want to change. If you don't. But nothing changes if nothing changes.
Yeah, so if they do want to change, what would be your recommendation for them to change, or something they can look into, or something that you've done?
Well, shit. I mean,
something
look up maybe read a book. I don't know anything offhand, but like I would even look and see if there's somebody who can. I mean, sometimes it pays to have somebody help you shortcut. If you can pay a coach or something along those lines, somebody help you in that aspect, why not?
Sexual coach?
Yep, there's people out there that could teach them more about themselves.
Shit, I want to become a sex coach. That sure sounds fun.
It's possible, but yeah, what's your But how am I changing myself right now to change the world? You didn't ask me that, but I'm gonna throw that out there.
Go for it.
I don't know. I'm in the middle right now of what's like called a recode. It's just learning to reprogram my movement patterns. And honestly, the way walking feels in my life is way different now, and running too. I don't even like to run, but just the way the connective tissues, being a coach in the industry, having worked out for like 10 years, different styles of working out, it's very interesting. I'm gonna play with this for a few months.
Walking differently?
No, like this recode programming that I'm on right now.
Does that ever end though?
No, it could just be like my regular training moving forward instead of the other types of training I do. Like,
Oh,
I
it's gonna
mean,
train
except
me.
for,
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
training my body, conditioning my body, because in order to recode your body, you have to do it every day.
Interesting.
Yeah. It's just a mode. And then, like, it's very interesting to see the coding of the movement patterns, because what they'll do is the people you work with is they'll show you slow motion footage of the way you move. And they just, lately, I saw a video recently of like indigenous people moving, and just showing the way indigenous people moved in comparison to the way we move. We've like decoded ourselves entirely because of our environment. So, yeah.
By decoding, you means we've.
Well, because for one, like at the first age you're able to be at now, like we put shoes on there. That's your first sensory to the earth. You lost your connection to the earth. Not many
That's
people
more.
are walking around barefoot these days.
It's like babies with shoes on. It's like this motherfucker can barely walk.
Yeah, it's just disconnected to you. Like, I mean, if we're energetic beings and the earth is an energetic field, like, and now we walk around with a piece of like rubber in between that, super disconnected.
Yeah.
I think every human would walk way different. First off, I get it because we walk on sidewalk. But we'd walk way different if we didn't have those shoe coffins or those foot coffins on there.
Feet
Or,
prisons.
yeah, they're terrible. They're feet prisons.
Corey, what do we use before in the past? Because I mean, we're pretty sure we had sticks in the past, like as primitive cavemen, and we probably didn't always walk on perfectly smooth,
Leather.
clean.
Yeah, no, it's just a piece of something to cover the bottom of your foot, just as a protective covering from like inanimate objects and stuff.
Yeah. I mean, like you
So
see
that's
those
why
socks, right?
barefoot footwear are pretty like the most efficient thing you can do now. Like, but the thinner you can get to the ground. Like, I mean, I wear like a barefoot footwear, and the way I walk is way different than I did when I wore like a Van shoe or a Nike shoe or Adidas.
Oh, cool. All right, gotta get some barefoot stuff or kill a squirrel or two.
Yeah, no, like there's some really awesome barefoot footwear out there though. Like, there's a stylish route that's a little more costly, and then there's a more cost efficient routes. But man, it'll change the game on the way you walk.
Barefoot footwear.
Because your first, like, I mean, your feet are, first of all, like, there's a shitload of muscles, ligaments, bones, tendons. It carries the entirety of your body weight at all times. When's the last time you like looked at your feet and tried to control your toes? Just think about that. Like, we don't necessarily, I mean, majority, let's just go Gen Pop. Gen Pop are going to wear a high-rise shoe, a cushion shoe that's going to be super narrow toe. You're cramming your foot into the shoe instead of making the shoe fit your foot.
Same
It's for
time wearing
style.
socks.
Yeah.
It's another layer of.
Another layer, and if you ever look when somebody's trying to do something in those high-rise shoes, like I work with enough people on the planet that your foot's constantly trying to search for like somewhere to be stable. And
Right.
you can't ever find that in your shoe.
No. It's hard to be balanced with shoes on, to be honest. I have
Really?
trouble keeping balance with shoes on.
Really? I thought because it's a flat. You have like a flat little world inside of your shoe. So
But it's not.
And then when you walk with your bare feet, it's not a flat world. Most places, especially if you're walking on soil, it's uneven, and it's even more.
Well, it's going to be
uneven.
uneven because first off, you don't even know how you should probably be even stepping on your foot because you lost your connection from the earth at a young age, and then you no longer were able to adapt it that way. If you think about it, like, I mean, it's the same thing. What is it like? You put some pigs in the wild, they turn into a boar. Like, you're adapting to your environment.
Feral pigs. Well, I think the shoe thing is like it's not flat though. It isn't, and your shoe. Like,
No, not all of them are. A lot of them have an elevated heel.
And a lot of them have grooves in them, and
yeah, it's like
soles
weird
and all this other stuff in there. So it's not flat. And then well, you try to balance yourself in one foot. Like, I don't know how tight your shoes are, but my shoes, you can wiggle. I don't wear completely constricted shoes that it can't, like, no, there's some wiggle room. There's like a centimeter or something that your foot rotates around when it comes to this thing. When it's trying to find balance, when you have an open foot with nothing on, like, it spreads out. It tries to do a tripod shit. Like, but in a shoe, yeah, I don't know. It doesn't have that same grip. Plus, I grip with my toes as well. You can't grip with your toes with shoes on.
Nope, not at all. Yeah, because
Yeah,
your feet, I mean, that's kind of what they're meant for.
I mean, you're definitely like, there's way more benefits in terms of like subtle sense of not subtle sense of like, just Tai Chi like teaches you how to balance, be on certain edges of your body, and use all your muscles pretty much. So being barefoot does that too. Just still not totally convinced that that we didn't have some sort of flat structure on our feet for thousands of years. Because I'm pretty sure we used some sort of like flat thing. Sand.
What I'm talking about is here's the thing, but you're getting away. We've created so much comfort from that. And it's a comfort that's a pillow. It's like you're walking on pillows or clouds because people are trying to walk in the most comfortable way, as shape or form. And that makes your feet weak as fuck.
That's
That's what I'm getting at. And your feet carry your entirety of your body. The feet carry whatever you weigh, Ahmed, that carries that all that weight. And then you're just they're not getting strengthened whatsoever if you're wearing those shoes 8 hours a day.
Oh yeah. And 8 hours is way too much for me. I'm
just saying, however much time. Ask humans. Most
Yeah.
humans don't want to walk outside without shoes on. They walk around their own house with shoes on sometimes. Think about this, man.
I'll take off my shoes as much as possible.
I get it, but like we think about, we're still a little holistic. I'm talking like most people on the planet.
Well, I don't know, man. There's a lot of cultures that don't have the shoes inside thing. Like
most people in America, my bad, Western,
Western society. I think
Germans. I don't know. I think I was talking about this before, like how we've changed now as a society, like immediately because of COVID. Like most people don't wear shoes in the house anymore.
I don't know about that one.
Most people do not wear shoes in the house because they could have COVID on their feet.
I don't know.
They don't even put the shoes in the house.
Maybe some liberals came up with that one. I haven't seen anything that relates to that topic, so I wouldn't know. Maybe there is people don't trust shoes in the house no more. It's headline or somewhere. But they good.
I saw jokes on that. I saw the opposite. I saw like trash talking. Like they say people try to take whatever way possible to be super clean, yet still walk in their house with the same shoes they walk around all over the fucking place with. They're filthy as fuck.
Bringing in Ebola. E. coli. Not Ebola, E. coli. That's what they bring in. Yeah. Well, I think we should end it on that note. Get rid of your feet prisons. Stop jerking off unless you want to jerk off. It's up to you. Do some. What'd you say, bro?
Right, and then it's not bad if you do, right? Just don't shame yourself.
Yeah, just do what you want to do and live with those consequences, bro. It's kind of it. You live with the consequences of your actions, whatever it is. What else are we trying to do? Remember to unlearn everything you learn, because it's always good to have a beginner's mind. Anything else?
So change yourself, change the world.
Change yourself, change the world. Oh yeah, reminder to everybody out there. We now have Instagram. I need to start putting more stuff out there. And YouTube, I need to upload all the videos. But we have them. And change yourself.
And if you're listening, go ahead and leave us a 5-star review. And
hey, word. Or a 4-star review. I'm good with B's, but 5 is better. I'm not gonna lie.
Do us a solid and help us reach to more people. 5-star review would be great. You can remain anonymous.
Yeah,
if you want to leave your name, we'll shout you out on the next podcast.
Yeah, for sure. I'll shout out anybody. Come join the community at changeyourself.changetheworld on Instagram or on YouTube. CYCTW. And
or you can follow at the Ricoverse.
That's right.
Follow at Corey Renbarger. And follow at Bodie Mind.
Yeah, I'll put all your social medias if you guys want them online. But yeah, leave a comment. Join the
Zero in
community.
there instead of a O.
Bodhi. Yeah.
All right, just
All
making
right.
sure that
So
the
peace
people
out,
know
people.
that.
Deuces.
Peace out.